Yeah. What's up, YouTube? So I'm just gonna randomly just talk about a certain subject. I literally just felt like talking about an old anime favorite of mine, so I figured I would just record myself just for the fuck of it. So anyway, let me just do. Okay. So anyway, back in 2007, that was kind of a big year for me when it came to watching anime because that was like the year in which I started to watch anime on the internet. It was like the first time that I started to like stray away from like watching anime like on Cartoon Network and like all the mainstream crap like Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon and all that shit. One anime that I came across during my searches was a show called The Familiar of Zero, or AKA Zero no Tsukaima. I don't know how to pronounce the Japanese name, so if I butchered it, then sorry, I don't care. But I'm just gonna call it Familiar of Zero since that's easier to remember. Whatever. So this was like one of the first. This was probably the first non-mainstream anime that I discovered at the time. You know, it's like when I first started using the computer. That was like the first anime that I had ever watched. And another memory I have is that back then I was using dial-up I was using internet dial-up instead of high-speed internet. And what kind of sucked about that was the fact that if you wanted to watch an anime episode with dial-up speed, it basically took 2 hours to load a 26-minute episode, and that was fucking hell because while I was trying to like download the episode, my computer would be slow as fuck, so I pretty much would just be like watching. I'd be pausing the episode and then watching it just in like little snippets or whatever. But anyway, back to the story. So I was watching Familiar of Zero, right? And the thing is, this was at a time before Familiar of Zero was well known and popular. Like 2007 is actually when the second season came out. But you know, and I was watching the first season. And one thing I'll say right off the bat, I can honestly say that I instantly fell in love with this anime. And the biggest reason why just had to do with the overall theme behind it. And anybody who's seen Familiar of Zero probably understands what I'm referring to. And in case you haven't, I will explain it. The basic theme of Familiar of Zero is you have this girl. You know, she has pink hair. You know, she's kind of an aristocrat, I guess you can kind of say. You know, she's also a magician who basically has no talent at all for magic. Like, she's basically like dirt shit, worst student in the entire school when it comes to doing magic of any kind. And basically one day her class is told that they have to summon familiars, which is basically like a lifelong partner or servant, I guess you can kind of say. So she basically is forced to attempt to summon her own familiar, and it turns out to be a human boy. And this particular human boy is basically, he's pretty average. He's, you know, he's just a random guy who just so happened to get sucked into this magician-like world, I guess you can kind of say. And one thing I'll say right off the bat is, oh yeah, and before I continue, the guy's name is Saito Hidaga, and the chick's name is Louise. And I also forgot to mention that the world that they're currently in, you know, the world where Louise is doing all the magician shit, is basically, it's kind of like an alternate dimension from, I guess, Planet Earth, I guess you can say. Because obviously, in normal Planet Earth, we don't have magicians and all that shit, so... yeah, so it's basically magician world, I guess you can kind of say. So anyway, the guy gets summoned to become her familiar. And one thing I'll say right off the bat is I was so fucking jealous of this guy because, like, even, like, he was summoned, and even though he was supposed to be her familiar, essentially what he became was her personal slave. It was the kind of thing where he was forced to basically do, like everything from dressing her to, like, you know, walking with her to class, and pretty much just basically forced to do whatever she wanted him to do. And at the time, you know, this was like my ultimate fantasy. Like, I just always loved the idea of having a chick just fucking boss me around and kick me and force me to do whatever the fuck she wants me to do. I was so fucking jealous of this guy, so fucking jealous that he had a chick that was pretty much just like, oh, she was just like, you know, bossy and all this other, like, oh my god, I was so jealous of him. You know what? I think I'm just gonna stop the video there. Yeah, I have nothing else I want to say, so fuck it. Peace out. Ah!